happens at the communal level and then is eventually enhanced by policy changes at the top level, insofar as many of these people trust their authorities, trust their religious authorities, trust their legal authorities. We think this is how we get the maximum solvency. This is how we have the only chance of solvency, and I'm going to tell you why vigilantism exclusively tanks the possibilities of solvency there, but first, front half.
Okay, what empowers abused women and the communities they represent more? Seeing their attackers being held accountable, which doesn't happen on your side, or seeing some law about women's involvement in economics, or reading Judith Butler like Owen said?
Okay, so we think what happens is that, yeah, you can see your attacker held accountable, but at the point when you're probably either going to go to jail for doing that, or increase the paranoia, increase the toxic masculinity that fuels a lot of this violence, right? You either make it worse entirely for yourself for a very long time, or you make it overall worse for all women in your community, including those who are not complicit in your vigilante violence. So, let's talk about why these are uniquely harmed by the motion. We think the status quo in most of these countries is apathy, as Rifat said, right? Femicide and rape and acid attacks go unnoticed and unprosecuted and unpunished. We think apathy is a horrid status quo, but the only way these things could get worse is if feminist movements widely become criminalized, right? We think this is how you get these things criminalized altogether. We think that as soon as these groups are associated in public life with vigilante justice, as Rifat said, it's so easy for people who don't agree with BLM to say, oh, they're violent like Black Lives Matter, or they're violent like the Black Panthers because they're burning police cars, right? It's so easy for the people who are not on board to discredit them. No, thank you. It's so easy to get them discredited, and we think in countries where there are even fewer rights, right? We think it's a very quick, very simple step to criminalize these groups, right? So we think that the backlash is disproportionate and lethal. First, to women physically, and so we think what happens, regardless of the scenario, is that somebody will have to pay for vigilante violence, right? It does not go unpunished. We think they ignore this entirely. We think all women become even more suspect, even if they aren't associated with it. And I told you why retributive violence will happen in response, right? What this leads to is an increase of violence against women as a disincentive to engage in vigilantism in the first place, at the point when these people, these men, know that the legal system will always be on their side until the legal system changes, Honorable Speaker, and the backlash against feminist movements into the future. Given the way the media and the discourse and legality are stacked against women in these countries already, it becomes simple to demonize broadly. We think that, again, we think that this becomes so easy to hobble the future legacies of feminist movements by doing this, right? So let me weigh this out for you, Penner. We think OG couches benefits in the value of retribution, in seizing identity, in seizing agency, in getting catharsis, right? Both speakers fill their speeches with injustices and pain and futility, right? We think that catharsis does not matter when you go to jail. Catharsis does not matter when that retributive violence comes back at you tenfold, right? We think it means nothing. They lose those impacts. They can't change the system this way because they lose the appeal to everyone else that they have. We think Rifat uniquely tells you why grassroots movements, nonviolent ones, are uniquely the only actor that even stands a chance to change things. Happy to oppose. Thanks.
Thank everybody across the floor. Shake hands. Yeah.